Hello everyone, welcome to this new release. It's the end of July and it's the time for Xen Orchestra 5.73. As usual, July and August release are a little bit less busy. It's a time of the year it's quieter. That does not mean that we are not working, because actually we are using very well that time to do the background work for major feature that will come later this year. So this month we have a lot to introduce to you. Most of the thing we will talk about today won't be available in Xen Orchestra right now, but that's very important steps for us in order for the next release to be major one. So Oliver, if you want to speak about everything that is coming, I let the rest to you.
Thank you, Mark. Thank you very much. Hi, everyone. So indeed, that's the July's release. And as Mark said, despite the fact it's mostly holidays in Northern Hemisphere and especially in France, we managed to get interesting new features, and we also talk about the future on what's coming next. So let's talk first about the integrated Let's Encrypt support. So this is something that was asked for a long time by our users. And in very short, what it does is very simple. If you expose your Xen Orchestra to the outside, to the internet, then you might want to use it with your domain name, and you might want, for example, to have an HTTPS certificate, but sometimes it's costly, but also you have to renew it manually and so on. And Let's Encrypt is solving this. So we managed to integrate Let's Encrypt natively directly inside Xen Orchestra. So you just have to create a configuration entry to add the auto search key value and use your domain. And then when you will start Exo server for the first time and you access the web page, it will automatically generate the certificate for I think it's 60 days or something like that, and automatically it will be renewed 30 days before expiration. So it means you won't have to deal with it. It will be free using Let's Encrypt, but also it will be fully auto renewed. So this is very handy because you don't have to manage that anymore or to pay expensive certificates. So that's both useful for professional but also home lab usage when you want a certificate. So that's it for Let's Encrypt. Let's move on the next feature we managed to get this month, which is basically importing an ISO directly from the REST API. So just as a reminder, we started to develop a new API, which is easier to use than the existing one. Both are working in parallel, and for the REST API, the major goal is that you will be able to use it just by making a call with, for example, curl directly from the command line, but it's a REST space, so it's very, very simple to use. And this month we added a feature allowing you to import raw disks directly to your Xen Orchestra API and to your ISO storage repositories. And as it's raw, it could be used to import your ISO. So it works both for a raw disk format if you don't use VHD, but also ISO. And we delivered an example of the command uploading, for example, an Alpine Linux ISO directly to your ISO SR. So this is something that you could use directly from the command line, which is trivial and very handy if you want to add, ISO to your library without having to import them from your Xen Orchestra web UI and so on. For example, if you have a remote site where you have ISO and you want to upload them without downloading them, then you could directly use this REST API call to get them available in storage repository. So we updated the documentation to add what you need to do to upload a raw disk, but that's very simple, just a flag to say it's a raw format, and that's it. So that's basically what we did for this release. But in the meantime, we worked on a lot of new stuff that's not available yet, but that is very important for the future. And mostly we'll talk first about Xen Orchestra Lite. So as a reminder, Xen Orchestra Lite is the UI that will be integrated directly inside XCP-ng as a kind of standalone UI directly inside your hosts. Um, And we did that because we know that in some configuration, you don't have Xen Orchestra available, or maybe you just installed your host. It means that you don't have any VM running on top of it. Or if you just want very simple commands, you might only need Excellerent at first, or maybe if you lose the connection with the main Xen Orchestra managing your entire infrastructure, that would be a practical way to use that locally without relying on any external components. So on that aspect, we started, in fact, to work on Exolite almost 1 year ago, but we had a long discussions internally on what kind of technology we can use, how to achieve that in a way that it's fast and so on. So we started to work with React and Webpack and using some framework to move forward. But then at some point we realized that it would be easier if we use something else. And so we started to explore alternatives, and we found that using Vue.js was very, very efficient and very more likely a better fit for our use cases. So we started to do that. So it's very fast to build. The documentation also is very nice. So in general, the new technical stack is very powerful, and in only few weeks we already managed to go beyond on what we did on the initial React-based application. So that was, to me, the time we made to analyze the situation with Exolite was really important, because it's probably giving the foundation for the rest of our technical stack, maybe even in Xen Orchestra 6. So you can see some animation we did to show some filters, the dark mode we already implemented. So in fact, we did a lot of new stuff, components, and so on. So it's moving relatively fast. So I'm confident that we'll be able to show you in the coming months that we'd be, let's say, usable enough to do basic operation, but also very nice to use, because we focus on UX design that was made by Clemens. There is a previous blog post about it. And so there's, the groundwork we did now is start to paying finally. So you can expect the project to move faster now than before. So keep an eye on it. We'll keep you posted as soon as there's something that you could deploy easily inside your hosts. But I'm confident that we'll be able to get something usable in a matter of months. So clearly before the end of the year, something that might be enough for all the basic operations. So that's it for the Exolite recap. There's also some progress made on the Exo6 front. So Exo6 is the, let's say, new big version of Xen Orchestra that will both use a fresh new UI, but also use a fresh new engine. Let's call it like this. So there is a blog post if you want to take a look in it, and why we are moving to this new version and not just continuing to improve Exo5. But in very short, that's because, at some point when you spend so many releases on the same engine, at some point you need to change, because you added tons of new features, and then it's not enough, for what you need, and the UI is not efficient enough since you added so many things before the start. And frankly, Exo 5 was already revamped from Exo 4, and I mean, it was really 7 years ago. So the message is the architecture we used for Exo 5 was really great, because we managed to continue to keep it for 7 years. But now we're sure that we must move forward to get something even better. And so we are building these blocks. And to understand how we're building them, go ahead and read the article. It explains why it will be better and how it will be better. There's also news on the backup front. So regarding the backup, we have obviously people dedicated to that, I would say, problem or features. So in very short, we started to introduce a new way to store the backup to be compatible with S3 protocol. And we realized this new way to store it was also very efficient. And we started to realize that also for backup, we need probably to rely on, let's say, different way to use it and to store it and so on, and use it this, let's call that small block protocol or something like that. I mean, we are not storing VHD format directly on the backup repository, but we are splitting the VHD into small files that are 2 mega big, like a block in VHD format. And this allows us to create cool new feature in a way that we couldn't before, like encryption that might be there in the next month, maybe next release, maybe the other one, but it's really near us right now. So that will allow you to get your backup encrypted directly to something, let's say, a place where you do not trust the hardware, for example, but because you won't have the key on the backup repository, it means that even, I don't know, if the disk were stolen or something like that, they won't be able to read your backup. So this is also important, and this is something that will be there very shortly. The rest of the topic regarding backup is obviously gets maybe at some point deduplication and things like that. Storage tiering, backup tiering, sorry. So you could have backup stored in a really relatively fast storage in the first place, and then an asynchronous copy of this backup to another place, which is slower and entirely async. We are also making some experiments to go faster on the XCPNG side of things to export the backup. And our initial tests were really promising. So we hope that we have something to show you before the end of the year regarding the new backup way, the way to extract the data from your VM disks that would be faster. So expect really nice improvements in that aspects. And we truly hope that at some point we will be able to expose also all the backup features from the REST API, meaning also the logs and so on. So you could use active and passive reporting for your infrastructure and be sure that logs and backup logs are reporting the data if there's a problem. So a lot to come, and we'll have some blog posts about it relatively soon, probably in September or October. So stay tuned about this. So the last two topics. So there's one topic regarding the pricing evolution. So in the end of Q3 or start of Q4, so this year, we'll have a pricing evolution since we did not have any change in our pricing since a lot of time. So due to a lot of things like the context and so on, it's all explained in the blog post if you want to take a look. But basically, we didn't change our pricing since 2014 or really the start of 2015, and since then we had more than 84 releases, 400 new features and so on. And obviously the team is also grow a lot, almost 3 times, almost 4 times bigger than right now. So that explains a lot of things, but also the fact that we are investing a lot in the future made a lot of sense to us to adjust our pricing since we did our first release in Xen Orchestra back in 2014. If you want information on how you might be impacted if you are already a subscriber, then go ahead, take a look on the article. Everything is explained. And if you want some details, if you want to discuss with us, you can contact us. There's links inside the blog posts directly. And finally, we talk about a new partnership. It's mostly the opportunity to talk about the fact that we are working on our, let's say, certification program that should be there before the end of the year too. And this certification program will allow us to deliver certification for our, partners or users. So it will be individual certification, and then that might allow us to, have certified partners that we know they understand how the product is working and how they could integrate the product or deliver the product to their existing or their new customers, having, as an integrator, a really close relationship with their users. And so we are working very hard to get this certification program done before the end of the year. And this is our first official partnership with an integrator, but we truly want to go further and have, partners all around the world and certified, partners and users all around the world. So that's it on my side regarding what's new this month. Mark, if you have any closing thoughts, go ahead.
Yeah, I have only a few things to add. So first of all, the release is already available for everyone to download and to install in their Xen Orchestra appliance. This time, this live comes after the actual release. So it's already available, and we will send shortly the newsletter in which we will also have the ability to show the very new logo for Xen Orchestra. Because with Xen Orchestra 6 and all the work that we are doing around XCPNG and everything, we are also continuing the work about our graphic identity revamp. So this is still work in progress, and I think that's it for me. So if everything is good on your side, and if we don't have any question on the chat, I think we can call it a live done.
Yeah, perfect. Thank you, Mark, and thank you, everyone. Have a great day, and see you next month.
See you next month. Bye-bye.